Welcome back. The program is still the Afia Morning Show, live from the coal city, Enugu, Nigeria. Now, of course, we head on to some kind of a story that has triggered both concern, panic, and comedy in certain quarters. A mild drama unfolded aboard an Ibom Air flight from Uyo to Abuja on the morning of Wednesday, October 8th this year, when a passenger was caught allegedly stealing 290,000 naira from a foreign traveler. The incident occurred around 7, as reports say, shortly after boarding was completed. According to eyewitnesses, the foreign passenger raised an alarm after discovering that the cash he had placed in his bag in the overhead compartment was missing. A search was conducted and the missing money was reportedly found hidden in the suspect's socks and beneath his seat. The individual was promptly apprehended, delaying the flight briefly before normal proceedings resumed. Let's take a look.
Well done, no. You try well. Well done, no. You try well. Well done, no. You try well.
And of course, that was the moment that the passenger was escorted off the flight by the cabin crew and handed over to officials for further interrogation. Now, we don't know his name or where he's from, but we've seen what he's done. Joining us this morning is Afia TV Political and Economic Correspondent Nnamdi Obanya. This, among other issues, will be assessed this morning, but you've seen the milking that we've woken up to. What's your take?
I mean, Ibom Air again. It seems as if there's a lot of drama happening on Ibom Air. First, we had the young lady who was ungraciously disrobed. Now we have a foreign passenger who was, relieved of his money. Luckily, he noticed on time. Search was done. I mean, imagine if he didn't notice anything. He got to his car wondering where was the money stolen. Is there CCTV in the plane that could have picked it up? Is there, so many things. Aviation security is a big deal. Weapons can come on and things like that. But when we're on the plane, how do we know when somebody pilfers something? There from time to time, I think maybe it's carelessness. I've lost some things in a plane, from AirPods, usually small things, AirPods, chargers, and I always think I was careless, But it raises another issue. How would you know if, while you were coming down or anything, somebody didn't pick it? The most ridiculous thing I've lost on a flight is a wedding ring, which is another story for another day. Yeah, so I lost a lot of weight. It became too big, so it kind of came off on the plane, and I was sleeping when I got to where I was going. Unfortunately, it was a transit flight in another country. So, but it raises the big question: how many things do we think were careless that is actually somebody picking? You think everybody bought a ticket? Everybody has money? Because that money that was missing was about the flight of a plane ticket. So you wouldn't think that somebody would steal if they had enough money.
What if maybe when he was putting that stuff in that glove compartment, right? In that compartment, by the way, the money was just lying somewhere. The individual didn't place it well, and it was just lying somewhere. And he picked it.
We see how bad.
So because it's not placed well, is it now my own?
Well, I'm just saying, because the picture everybody's having in their head right now is like maybe when searching for it, by the way. So, but maybe I'm just saying maybe
that the bag, it was showing in one way or the other, and said, that's money. But that argument is like saying, oh, the girl was looking nice, I should go and molest her. It's the same thing. I see it and I saw it and I took it. I call that the slogan of every hardcore thief. You call it what it is. He stole money, and he's lucky it's a plane, because planes are usually full of elites. Yeah. People can afford tickets. So you saw a man, well done, or you try very well. I said, maybe we should slap his face. Everybody's very dignified.
So let's talk about
if you did that in a luxurious bus.
Yes, let's talk about well done. He said, well done, oh, well done, well done, oh, well done, well done, oh, well done. And it went on and on like a song. Now it turns out that the only CCTV we seem to have on board aircrafts these days are the phones of passengers. Should aircrafts, as a matter of urgency, install CCTVs? And if they don't, should they lead the narrative by publicizing such footage?
I think for reasons of security, there should be some sort of internal recording, because there are things that happen. And usually the cabin crew against, look at the young lady of Ibom Air. We all vilified her. Then as the story kept coming out, we kept hearing different accounts. We now heard, oh, that air hostess is very high-handed. A lot of things came out, you know. Usually it's somebody's word against somebody, and people don't start filming when they don't know something is going to happen. So we usually meet the story halfway. So there should be, you know, there are some things. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, his first time on the plane, he trying to get the air hostess attention. He was calling her, she didn't answer. And he touched her and called her and said, excuse me. Meanwhile, aviation convention is actually a very big offense to put your hand on cabin crew, to touch them in any way. And he didn't know that. So we had to plead and say, look, he's not being rude, he doesn't know. The lady was, you know, she was very understanding. But, you know, imagine if she made a big deal and said he groped her and he just touched her. I'm trying to get her. It would have been her word against his. And first things first, would have come and probably handcuffed him, dragged him off the plane, because it's usually the word of the captain and the cabin crew first. You hold off the plane, then we can investigate later. Your reputational, emotional damage is done.
So let's talk about what happened and where the money was discovered underneath his seat and in his socks. How did he get around to reaching for his stockings and putting the money in? So that
means that thing happened. That thing happened when he was putting in the luggage.
How did it cascade to his socks?
When he first came on the plane, he had the whole flight to do that.
I don't understand.
That's the same thing I said, though. When he's putting his luggage in the compartment,
you know,
apparently saw the money and picked it.
He probably had something in his hands, that he could use to bring it down. Maybe a book, a magazine, something, newspaper, had something to wrap the money. Because let's not forget, we are seeing something a lot of money, but that's just 1,000 naira bundles and, you know, a 50. And if it's 300, it's 2 complete 100,000 and an incomplete 100,000. It's not bigger than this. Something you could easily, as you put your bag, just bring out and just sit down.
I do like,
and then once you're sitting down on the flight, please adjust your seatbelt. There's always a lot of movement. As you're adjusting your seatbelt, adjusting yourself and putting it. They bring your flight food. You open that, like you're putting your flight food. No, I mean, look, we've all been young boys. I haven't stolen. This will sound very crazy. I have more respect for people who come up to you and say, give me your wallet, than people who steal it when you're not looking. You know, because I think one is just vulgar display of power. The other one is the most base, bottom-feeding, disgusting thing you can do.
How did you feel as he walked across the aisle from his seat to the exit of the plane?
One thing I've learned is that some people have no shame. That guy probably like, they caught me today. Next time.
He paid probably about near or exactly 200,000 or just a little bit above to get on that aircraft, and then went ahead to steal, as alleged, 290,000. Was he trying to repay himself for the ticket?
I want to make a bet. It's probably somebody paid for to come and do something or go somewhere. It's not him that paid the money. I'm just guessing, because he's not behaving like someone who... I understand that Nigerians and human beings can be greedy, and you know what's most surprising is that I'm not going to judge him by his looks, you know, but it's probably somebody who maybe was going to do a job in Abuja. Somebody said, come down, we'll pay for your flight. He saw a wolf money. He said, and I work chop. Right? Person they work, person they chop. And he said, it's a Nigerian way. We're always pilfering, we're always stealing. You see somebody is writing a requisition for money, and you know they're saying the caterer's money is 600,000 when the caterer's money is 200,000. You see these things every day. So the Nigerian way of always trying to pick an extra naira here and there that they don't deserve is in our culture. It has gone down to the roots. That's why even a security guard at the restaurant will be telling you, "Oh, that's a happy weekend." Instead of opening the damn door for me to go with my last 400 naira and get the single meat pie I can afford.
Well, is this a case of too much of Guyman fast guy that you know how Nigerians are, Guyman fast man?
He probably thought I got away with it.
Yeah.
And he had already started tasting the copier in his mouth as he's telling his friends how he ran a sharp one on the plane. And unfortunately, you know, if our justice system is our justice system, they won't be saying cold beer for a few months.
I mean, this is quite traumatic. Now, in detail, he was said to have become uneasy when the cabin crew decided to search the passengers. What do you think was going through his mind?
You don't cast.
Last. All right, away from there now to the matter of today that brought us here, away from that alleged shameful display. The National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress has appointed a 7-man caretaker committee to run the affairs of the Enugu State chapter of the party, with Dr. Ben Nwoye as its chairman. Nwoye, until his appointment, was reportedly an ex-state chairman of the party. The change of the party's state leadership came barely 2 days after Science Minister Uche Nnaji resigned over alleged certificate forgery. Now rising from its 179th meeting in Abuja on Thursday, the APC National Working Committee reportedly dissolved the Agballah-led SWC with immediate effect. To discuss possibilities, that's why we're here today. Now, we've seen this. And of course, lots of indications everywhere. People are saying that the ground is being tilled to effect the reception or preparing to receive the Enugu State's governor into the party, because there's a viral photo which you're going to throw up on screen that shows the governor, locking hands with Dr. Ben Nwoye, even though that picture was taken some time ago. What is the ripple effect of this? And today, the formal inauguration is going to take place for the new APC Caretaker Committee. What should we see? What should we take away from this so we don't jump to conclusions?
I mean, in this case, everybody has won their gold medals for long jump and triple jumping to conclusions, because all of us in one way or the other have jumped conclusions. Now, there has been the rumor for a long time that Governor Peter Mbah is going to defect. Is it true? Is it not true? Nobody knows. Will it happen? Will it not happen? Nobody was sure. If he defects, which party is he defecting to? Is the PDP imploding? Is Nigeria becoming a one-party state? Is President Tinubu trying to show up the southeast because he feels like he's losing the north? There are so many political intricacies right now and so many things. But honing down to Enugu, we woke up one morning and there was a sudden assault on Chief Uche Nnaji. One morning, and under a week, he has resigned. It was almost like a perfectly planned job. There was Premium Times investigation. Next thing, Professor Otuanya has provided UNN's angle of it. As in, there was no delay. It was like quick. And it's almost like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. It's almost like people sat down and planned this thing. And then, next thing you know, he's gone. And being a federal minister, he was the highest ranking APC member in Enugu State. And the structure of the APC was, more or less under his control of influence. Even when you have a state chairman, everything, usually you find out that whether it's a senator, a minister, a governor, the highest placed person in government from that party in the state is usually the de facto spiritual leader of the party. So with that happening, and we saw that under his tenure, a new APC head for Enugu was elected. They reshuffled their exco, and now we are seeing the old guard. Uche Nnaji had been complaining. He had even been on Afia, talking about how the APC structure had been hijacked for a while, and all of a sudden now it's back with him. Someone was wondering, how long has this been in the plans? Is this something the governor has been planning? Are they preparing APC in Enugu State to receive Peter Mbah? Are they removing Chief Uche Nnaji, who could have been the biggest, quote-unquote, obstacle to him? Because whether you like it or not, Chief Uche Nnaji is a force on his own. He was their gubernatorial candidate in 2023. He is the de facto leader of APC in the state. The structure on ground answers to him. So it's like, if you're going to bring the governor into the party, we don't want somebody who will be making unnecessary trouble for him. Can we move them out and move him in? And there's something else, the truth is, in Nigeria, for this kind of thing to happen, we can't say Abuja is not aware. Because this guy was a federal minister. If Abuja wanted to protect him, they will protect him. Nigeria is not a place where, let us not deceive ourselves, it's not a place where 1 + 1 is always 2. And the limits of X is always, as X tends to infinity, can be any value. So we cannot be sure. But Abuja cannot say they do not know. I'm not saying they had a hand in it, but I'm saying that there could have been a case of throwaway face while everything is happening. So it all looks as if, they have quote-unquote wet ground for the governor to make his entrance into the APC. I'm seeing some well-known APC influencers like Bamileri, Adegoke and co coming online to say Peter Mbah 2027 and beyond. I'm like, okay. You know, this one jumping the gun? Is the other WhatsApp, they started releasing to the other, you know, there are two WhatsApp groups, the general WhatsApp group and the one that went for free Wi-Fi, jollof rice and AC at Aso Rock. So there are two different Wi-Fi groups. Don't worry, people and two different WhatsApp groups. Don't worry, people who are in WhatsApp groups understand what I'm talking about, and they are all at home laughing their heads off.
Right.
But the fact that a really well-known APC influencer is suddenly showing his picture walking with Peter Mbah, showing Peter Mbah saying 2027 forward, he might have jumped the gun and is telling us something already.
Who was literally, when you look at Uche Nnaji, right, he was the henchman. But with all the noise, apparently, who was backing the noise? Or were all those noise him, you know, trying to stamp his feet and tell the APC that, yes, I have this structure and yes, I'm going for that backing. So what is his fate to Enugu Agballah?
It's a good question, but you must also understand that this is Nigeria, and you know things happen the way they happen. You know, I'll give you a small example. We saw Dino Melaye jump from PDP to APC, back to PDP. We've seen him hit Tinubu today, like Tinubu tomorrow. You know, then while we think that he's at loggerheads with Tinubu and he's a strong Atiku guy, we see his lawyer is now INEC chairman. So you know that Amufiton is actually Dino Melaye's lawyer, or at least was his lawyer for a very long time. So you got to if they do into the truth, he does not need a university degree if he wants to collect the Senate for Enugu East, and nothing will happen. If he wants to collect it and he wins the primaries, he'll win the primaries. Who is he coming up against? A recently defected person who won because his brother died on the Obedient movement. Obedient movement has abandoned him. He has no political capital. He's not strong enough to control any structure.
Okay. If
Uche Nnaji decides to sweep in, that he wants that Senate seat, Oyibo doesn't stand a chance of a snowball inside the coal fire.
If Enugu is going to turn APC, there's Chimaroke Nnamani in Enugu East.
Yeah.
So, what would Uche Nnaji be going for Senate? Because apparently he might be the one going back there.
Now, if Chimaroke decides to come for Senate, there's, you know, that possibility. A lot of interesting things, you know. We're also looking at the fact that Sullivan Chime will want to unseat Osita Ngu,
or his APC,
Enugu West, because he's also quote-unquote APC. But there is another strong man in the APC in Enugu East, and that's the person of former Senate President, Dr. Ken Nnamdi. So there are a lot of people who can swing the votes in different directions. What I do know is that Uche Nnaji did have complaints of, I think, people like Sullivan and Ken Nnamdi about how they were APC by day and PDP by night. So these guys, we know Sullivan as an APC member openly endorsed Governor Peter Mbah.
Right.
So he's more likely, that those are the people. That so you raised a good point. If Chimaroke decides to come, it could be an issue. But I assure you, but after the last election, you know that Governor Chimaroke suffered a lot of deterioration of his political capital. We saw him as co-cam getting booed and all sorts of things. So it's a case of what is left of his reputation. If there is something there and it's just for Enugu East, it's possible. But at the same time, I would urge Chief Uche Nnaji to, go for it, because right now the person there is not somebody that has any sort of backing.
Specifically speaking, what do you urge Chief Uche Nnaji to go for?
Senate.
To go for Senate, despite the allegations?
If he's not convicted of anything, all right? If he's not convicted of anything, whether or not it's by plea deal or anything, once there is no conviction, he has no criminal record, and he has a valid attendance of secondary school, he's eligible. And don't forget, if the state is APC, we know how Nigeria works. If the state turns APC and he wins the primary, he has won the election. We know how the obedient movement is the first thing that changed that dynamic.
Let's look at the dynamic today. The news this morning is at 10 a.m., the new Caretaker Committee of the All Progressives Congress is going to be inaugurated. Now, that's an event on its own, and we're going to see Dr. Ben Nwoye, or Barrister Ben Nwoye, is going to be inaugurated as the chairman of APC's Caretaker Committee in Enugu State. After the event, after the official inauguration, what do you think are the permutations, especially in line with conversations around the possible defection of the state government to the All Progressives Congress?
I mean, they're just rolling out the rug more and more. The red carpet is just being rolled out more and more. There has to be a structure, a friendly and compliant structure, if the governor is going to defect, to receive him. If he's coming in with senators, House of Reps, commissioners, State House of Assembly, local government chairmen. So there cannot be challenges to them waiting in where they are coming into. So there has to be a friendly APC that will simply slot people into their places. The way in Delta State, Barrister Ifeanyi Okowa created that environment to receive Governor Sheriff and the rest of all the Delta State local government chairmen that decamped, so I think all but one decamped to the APC. What I'm waiting to see, there's this talk that, and I know Uche a lot, that Enugu is a PDP state and Enugu will remain PDP. Will that affect Barrister Peter Mbah 2027? Possibly. And the reason is very simple. APC does not enjoy a lot of goodwill in the Southeast. Even the APC governors in APC states are political class governors. They are governors that are liked by their political class. If you look at the governors who people call the quote-unquote performing governors of the East, Governor Mbah and Governor Oti, neither of them were elected on the platform of the APC, and neither of them have been performing on the platform of the APC. If you look at the most secure states in the Southeast, they are the non-APC states, of course with the exception of Anambra, which is an anomaly on its own. But I don't know if there's a lot of goodwill, particularly how the Southeast views how the center is treating it. It's not helped by, the fact that people complain that the Minister of Works is from the Southeast, yet his focus is on a coastal road that circles the region and abandons it without thinking of the rail or the east-west road that goes through it. That project, as an elderly person told me, is a slap on the face of everybody here, that you have an east-west road, but you decided to abandon it and build a brand new road with money that could probably build 10 of the east-west road to circle and avoid the southeast. And just to make the point clear, it's a coastal road, but the road touches Edo State, which is not a coastal state for reasons best known to them. So I guess the message is, as this person said, it's not a coastal road, it's an anything but Igbo road. So the southeast has these are not my words, by the way, has a kind of, they are not, there's kind of dissonance, there's a disconnect between the region and the central government. So Governor Peter Mbah, who on his own, even after an election that, he came in as not a popular candidate because nobody really knew any of them. And he has come in and, with his own hands and with his own activities, built up very good political capital. And, as a few months ago, I was like, except they want to bomb Enugu, there is no rigging, there is nothing that will not let this man get back in power.
But
now,
let Nnamdi make his point. Go ahead.
Now, it has shifted a bit. Because a lot of the things we thought, one, there's the traditional Enugu PDP structure. Two, there was the fact that he had gotten goodwill from people. Third was the fact that politically, he now had a full array of local government chairmen. So the structure was set, the projects are there, the goodwill is there, the general liking is there. But if he moves to the APC, first of all, goodwill is off the table. Two, the fractioning. How many people in his government are core PDP that will refuse to leave PDP? Because as a political person, if I was a PDP member and the governor defected in Enugu, this would be my time to make myself a very important opposition person. I would not even be interested in following the crowd. I'm just going to make myself a thorn in the side of the governor. It's equally profitable. Just step aside and become the new structure of the PDP in the states. So, we're looking at people like Osita Angu.
Yeah,
would they follow him? Nnamdi Nnaji. Suddenly you have a PDP senator, PDP House of Rep. You don't have some. I don't need to follow. I can join the new PDP, and I can own the structure here. All campaign funding, all mobilization funding, everything comes to me now. So why do I need to go to the APC? Why do I need to have 5% of $1 billion when I can have 100% of 100 million? Everybody should go. So, and it's guaranteed. So who will break away? Who will not follow? Who will stay? Even some people in his cabinet, commissioners, everybody, who will go with him? You know, these are all the questions. Then there's always still the question that this should now be a time for parties like the ADC to come in and pick some people the way the obedient movement did. Some people who might feel cheated, you know. If I'm ADC, I'm coming straight to Chief Uche Nnaji right now. Somebody who already has a name. I'm coming to him. And I'm going to at least give myself some foothold that if he doesn't win a Senate, he can get me enough clout to win me a House of Rep within that region.
Well, we're talking about Enugu being traditionally a PDP state, and you stated that even Uche Nnaji complained about Sullivan Chime and Kenan Amani being APC in the morning and PDP at night. But all these things are in preparations to the 2027 election, both the states and the national, the federal, by the way. So a Pitamba could easily, because people, they've seen, you know, the good works, the dividends, everything is speaking for itself, right? But can he sway votes for a Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC come 2027 with this, if truly this is what is going to be, defecting to APC? Do you think that he can sway, knowing fully well how the indigenous of Enugu, the Igbos, how they think, you know, and all that, and how they perceive the APC?
So let's get into the ugly part of it. Presidential elections always come before the gubernatorial elections. Everybody if Governor Peter Amba, remember it's still hypothetical, if he does cross, he might shock all of us and cross to ADC or LP.
I don't know this one, Alex Oti had a meeting with him a couple of days.
Yeah, you know, you cannot be sure. What I'm saying is that let's hypothetically say he does cross to the APC, the government chairman cross with him, you know, what you will now have is a lot of desperate politicians with or without his prompting, who will know that if they are able to do and undo the unthinkable in Enugu by any means necessary to secure the votes for President Tinubu for a second term, that when their turn comes, the favor will be repaid. And don't forget that for those of them who will be going for House of Rep and Senate, they'll be going for election on the same day as the presidency. So all they'll be doing is making sure, because once they get the president for a second term, anything that was happened on government should happen. They'll just tell you go to court. It's the Nigerian way. And so what you're going to have is that if he does go to the APC, the people who want Senate, House of Rep are going to mobilize their people to make sure that they do an APC whitewash at the first leg, so that by the time it's time for the governor's election, it's basically a cakewalk.
How many mobilization can you make in the southeast? Let me just take Enugu for instance, by the way, the indigenous, right? How many mobilization can you garner for the APC, knowing fully well that people down here have the mind of their own and they think the way they want to think? You don't have to sway them, even with all your money. We saw what happened at the 2023 election, right? How top to bottom, apparently people can actually come and vote for LP top to bottom, right? It really affected even the PDP and even the APC, by the way. How would that even happen? The mobilization you're talking about, how many people can you mobilize? How much can you pay?
So it's a good question. So I'll tell you this very short story. One time, Joseph Stalin's people were telling him that, look, you can't continue like this. The people will revolt against you. They were just talking, and he was just feeding his chickens. They were talking, you don't do this, you don't do that. And he just picked one of the chickens as we were talking and started ripping the feathers off. Painfully, blood everywhere. The chicken was screaming in pain. And just as we were talking, he just ignored him and kept ripping the feathers. By the time he dropped the chicken, it was shivering, bleeding. It looked like it had been run over by a lorry on Milliken Hill. And then he now said, let's go. And he started dropping crumbs on the ground. And this same chicken started eating the crumbs and following him. And he said, when the people depend on you for bread, no matter how badly you treat them, they will follow you. Hunger and poverty is the first tool. Nigerian political class has perfectly created a structure to weaponize institutional poverty. And Nigeria is getting poorer, which means that the weapon will be more effective. By 2027, poverty will be such an effective weapon that what you will need to mobilize people might be 2 sausage roll and 1 soft drink. And so don't be too deceived. They can do that. Secondly, not all mobilization is gathering people to come and vote. Some of it is, what we see in Nigeria, where we see some people that have 1 million thumbs because they are able to thumbprint so many ballot papers. There's going to be criminality, irregularity, rigging, vote buying, vote influencing, vote harvesting. All these above board and below board, under the table shenanigans are all part of the quote-unquote mobilization process, and all of them are going to be employed in 2027. So when these people are fighting for their political lives to make sure that they secure leg 1 federal for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and their seats in Abuja, they know that that is the day they have to focus on, knowing that once they get that, Abuja resources will now be added for the second leg.
So let's talk about the people as well, because a transition or a political realignment, hypothetically speaking, also cascades down to the people of the state. What would a potential shift from the People's Democratic Party to another party, hypothetically speaking again, being the APC, mean for Enugu? Should Enugu be worried about it, or is it going to be a continuation of an existing narrative?
Well, here's the thing. Part of the feel-good factor about Governor Peter Mbah's projects is the fact that this is a state proving in opposition that APC is not the best for Nigeria. On social media, you see the horrible, tribal things said about Easterners. From APC people, let's just say it. It's not PDP or LP people that are calling Igbos names and insulting them on social media. These are APC guys. So the East sentimentally is very, is very, very, they feel some type of way about the APC. And that is the people, Eastern generally, not the political class. Political class are opportunists and they will take whatever comes their way. So Governor Peter Mbah going to the APC, suddenly the APC is taking credit for achievements that are not theirs. And people don't really align with that anymore. And if I'll prove it this way to you. Despite the things that Governor Hope Uzodinma and Governor Wifuru have done, people don't really care in the Southeast. They don't really care because it's the APC. They're not interested. So this is what might happen in Enugu. Enugu might see themselves in a situation where because the governor has moved to the APC, people will suddenly start not being so sure. And at the back of everybody's mind, they're looking for a new champion. At the back of everybody's mind. Now, is there something he can do between now and 2027 that will guarantee him a seat? He's doing well enough. And on a PDP platform, people would have been ready to sweat blood on election day to re-elect him. But now, he's with the center. Suddenly it's like, he's thinking of his own political career. He's not a man of the people. He's not standing his ground. There are so many angles people will come from, and be ready for them in the next few days. Of course, PDP's first campaign is he's all about himself. He used us to get there. He has dumped us. He used our resources. Get ready for it. Whether it's PDP, whether it's LP, I saw somebody saying, you people were trusting him. Somebody that was on PDP campaigning as obedient is somebody you think that, so how many people is he going to meet and explain his personal principle and personal philosophy and his morals? How many people? And good news is a snail where bad news is Usain Bolt. So you're going to have people already, a dissonance, a detachment from him and what he stands for just because he's gone to the APC.
Mm-hmm. Do you see the state governor, if he defects, having to start afresh, entirely afresh? Because you did mention something very salient, a good point, that moving to another party might give that party credit for a lot of the things that they have been done, especially because now you're affiliating with that party. So would the state governor, if he defects, have to start afresh to win the people over with regards to the strides in the state?
So here's the thing, and this is what worries me. From top to bottom, when state governments are aligned with the center, there's this confidence that the center will sort elections out for you. So you see relaxation. When you're in opposition, the tendency is to do more than required to show that even if the center comes, the people will say no. Like, can you imagine the Deputy President Benjamin Kalu came and said APC will take over from Abia in 2027. And the people said, unless Alex Oti is the one going to APC, there is no way in hell that APC is taking over. To his face, and they've told him, they made their voices clear everywhere. Why? Because they are feeling the impact. Recently, it was somewhere, I don't know if it's Port Harcourt or where, at a convocation, he was about to speak, power went off. By the time they restored the power, first thing Governor Alex Oti said was,
We've solved this problem
we've solved this problem in Aba.
Yeah.
In Aba.
And the crowd went wild. How many governors can say this? So, when you are in opposition and you are making great strides, you are the people's champion. When you move to the center, so I starting afresh, it will be starting afresh. The problem is, would people be as enthusiastic? Because he built up the enthusiasm. He didn't have it at the beginning. And with time, with every project, with everything, he built up political capital. The APC are going to now remove the goodwill, snatch the achievements, and they are bringing the pedestal down. So he's going to need 10 times the effort to get one quarter results.
So let's talk about money and financials. Being a part of the ruling party would unarguably provide more access to finances, access to more strategic meetings that could yield more finances for the state. Do you see that accelerating or de-accelerating the trajectory in the state currently?
Ebonyi is one of the poorest states in Nigeria. This is the second APC governor. One has done 8 years and gone. It's one of the poorest states in Nigeria. Imo State has an APC governor. Being with federal has not done anything for a lot of states, particularly in this region. It has done for the political class, but not the state.
But it's been the sell.
Without the center, Enugu has what? Increased his IGR by like 6 times. Has attracted investments like landmarks in Nike Lake, Omu Resorts, the palm oil investments, I forget their name, attracted so many things without the center. What do you think will happen when they align with the center? One, the center starts dictating your contractors for you. Suddenly, it's no longer a choice. And you hear that Sujimoto should go and finish the smart school. You should forgive him. You start hearing, I'm just giving an example of the kind of things that can happen, because when you are aligned with the center, you are now under. Nigeria's so-called federalism is not true federalism.
See, before we go, there's something I need to ask you, right?
Yeah.
If eventually, Epitamba defects to APC, is he making a very big mistake that he will regret?
Even Nostradamus can't answer that. Because there are two things. Will he join APC and become the group that changed APC to a reasonable party? Is he just going to make the APC a bigger monster than it is? We saw PDP become such a huge monster that when it was time for it to collapse, nobody could hold it at any point because it was too big. The APC is becoming that big too. We see it everywhere. We saw it with the Democrats in the US, it became so big, you just needed one Trump needle. Same thing, we saw Bill Clinton do that to the Republicans when it became very big. So it's now a question, is he joining a ship that looks very big now but is on its cusp of sinking? Or nobody can say. What I can say though is that he will not be viewed the same. For better, I don't know. For worse, I don't know.
All right, we have just
be viewed the same.
Less than 60 seconds to wrap up. Now, some people have blamed the supposed inability of some of the states currently under the APC to move forward as being linked to the personality, the agenda, the ambition, the general character and behavior of the leaders in those states. And I failed to mention them, but I'm sure people know who and who I'm mentioning in my head. Do you think that that would be different for Enugu, judging by the background existing?
If the Oba of Benin, Ogwatupe, had not been very, very strong, we would have had an issue where we would have an Iyaloja general to have replaced all the EEK in all the markets. The governor did not oppose. In fact, they had the coronation at Government House. So the Oba had to tell them by himself that there is nothing like EEK general. In fact, they received the EEKs recently, and he restated that they are the ones of the markets and not like EEK general. When Iyaloja general comes to Enugu to come and do Iyaloja of Enugu markets, or Sheikh Tinubu comes to Enugu to come and do what he does, do we have traditional institutions that can stand up to them?
That's the question.
All right, Nnamdi, thank you once again for joining the show today. We'll take what we can from your last proverbial session. Thank you for making our time to join us. Political and Economic Correspondent, Afia TV. Would watch and see, all eyes on Abuja now. What's going to be the outcome of that inauguration? All eyes, I don't want to say locked. It's locked, right? And ears peeled, or what's the correct one?
Eyes peeled.
Eyes peeled.
Eyes peeled
So,
and ears.
so our tongues can wag.
So that's all Sawag. All right, on behalf of the entire production team of the Afia Morning Show here at Afia TV, this is saying thank you for watching. I remain your host, Nathalie Uku.
And I remain Oji Nwachuku. Have a blessed Friday and a weekend ahead. Bye for now.